Here we go again. So, I have a disclaimer, guys. If my thoughts are scattered around, just know that I am going through a lot right now. So, some people have asked me, hey, what's going on? Can we help? Yes, you can help, but I'm not a person that likes to bother people. I made a miscalculation earlier this year and it is now beginning to show up and I am struggling. I don't want to lie. So it's been bothering me for the past 2 months. Yes, help is needed, but I'm still not there where I'm like, please help. Okay, anyways, that's just a disclaimer if my thoughts are scattered around. So, guys, I mean, did you see this? Now and again, I do take a break from reading the news, watching the news for about 2 or 3 years. I stopped watching channel news, or is it news channels? Because they were just getting too depressing for me, too upsetting, especially our political landscape in South Africa. And I was like, for my mental health purposes, let me withdraw, just like I withdrew from Twitter in 2020. So just recently, probably as of like mid last year, 2024, slowly I started reading newspapers online. I'm still not pretty confident to take the remote control and watch a news channel because I know the moment I open the channel, I'm going to be hit with something that is really going to mess me up. So I'm not ready for that one. However, I think I can stomach a online newspaper article, and I saw this. I know it was published on the 27th of was it March 2025, and to me it's news, and I'm thinking to myself, here we go again. And listen, I am not a fan of the World Bank, and I'm also not a fan of both the World Bank and IMF because of the atrocities that they commit on the African continent because we owe them money. I never thought that we will creep and crawl to the World Bank in seeking for a loan so that as they say, 8 of our major cities in South Africa are up for revival or reverse the damage that has been caused. And I wonder who caused that damage. In my previous video, we talked about maintenance, and I saw some people coming and say, hey, there is a word maintenance in isiZulu. It's called ukunakekela, all that stuff. I read all your comments, guys. I do. It's just that for some reason I can't get to respond to your messages, especially when I get a lot of comments. For some reason, it freezes. However, I read all of your comments. Now, let's talk about this because from what I understand is that South Africa is going to be getting $1 billion from the World Bank. That is about 18 point, let's say 19 billion rand. Is it 19 billion? What about, yeah, it's somewhere there. Let's get the facts right. The news article, I have it right here. I'm so sorry, guys, to be bothering you guys with reading, but it's something that I feel like if you are not aware of it, this is something that we need to discuss because I can tell you right now before I read the article, your so-called tenderpreneurs as well as corrupt politicians, they are literally salivating and cannot wait for this money to hit our shores because we have corrupt politicians. And in our country, unfortunately, these $1 billion plus $2 billion from the South African government that they are going to use in funding these municipalities to reverse all the damages that have been caused in the city of Johannesburg, Durban, and they also added Cape Town. I thought they would add Ekurhuleni, or I think Ekurhuleni is added, but I'm like, okay, Tenderpreneurs. That's all that I have in my head. And I'm sure many of you who are listening to this video, you are thinking about the same people. Not only am I thinking about tenderpreneurs, I'm also thinking about those that were not thinking of running for council in 2026. Remember, this money is going to the grassroots, the municipalities and metros. That is where money is at. Money is not at the provincial level or the national level. National, what do you call this? It disseminates the money all the way down where the people are at. So now I'm just thinking somebody who probably was a former counselor, but there's a counselor that overtook them because they were not serving the people of their communities. And now they're probably thinking of political, type of situation so that they return to that position and intimidate the community that if you do not vote for me, this is those sort of stuff. All of these things are coming down in my head, and I'm thinking this $1 billion plus the 2 billion from the government is going to cause havoc. It's going to cause havoc because the corrupt and the criminals, they're already salivating. You have to ask yourself, what happened to the profits we made in 2010? What happened to the multiple surpluses that we had during Thabo Mbeki era? What happened to that money? And now we have cities that needs to be rescued by the World Bank. That doesn't sound good to me. That sounds, oh yeah, here we are again. Here we go again. Because let's say legitimately, this money is going to do what it needs to do. But the people that are supposed to be responsible for this amount of money, what vision do they have? They are there in the council houses. That is why the cities look the way they do, because they have no vision for the city or whichever city that they are counselor to. And you are going to take that money and give it to them to do what? Because that money is not going to go to the projects that it's meant to go to in reviving our cities. The money, the bulk of it is going into their pockets. That is why tenderpreneurs are like this. Hey, when this thing is going to come. Yes. And then those wouldn't suddenly, with political ambitions, they're going to find a creative way to get themselves in council so that they get hold of that money. And if it does get into the municipality and metro's bank account, do you think that the materials that they are going to buy in reviving our cities in terms of road, in terms of water and sanitation, in terms of railways, roads, bridges, the infrastructure that is damaged, plus also turning some of the abandoned buildings into low-cost housing, do you think all those materials are going to be of quality? No, they are not going to be of quality. Once upon a time, when they were building the Gau train, and I'm not going to mention the name of the politician who was caught ordering inferior materials to build the Gau train tunnels. So meaning that he cared less about the people that were going to use the Gau train when cracks start showing, because the cement is inferior, as well as the workmanship is inferior, because he wanted billions. I think he was going to get something like 10 billion rand from buying inferior material to build the Gau train tunnels. And of course, that money where was going to go to Swiss bank accounts, Cayman Island bank accounts, and all these other tax haven accounts that he was going to hide this money. So are you telling me that mentality for this money is not there? Of course it's there. So what you and I ought to do as voters, what are we supposed to do? Because this is in our hands, in case you have not noticed. If you want that money that we are now owing to the World Bank, that your children will pay for the rest of their lives and their generations, And the prospect of them ever becoming rich or move to the middle class are next to nothing because they need to pay off this debt to the World Bank before the World Bank comes and say, "Oh, well, we are coming here to install democracy." Some bombs will be thrown here and there if they do that, with the assistance, of course, of you know who. This doesn't sit well with me, but let's read the article so that we get the figures correctly. Hmm. World Bank helps save major South African cities from collapse. They've collapsed. World Bank, they've collapsed. So this article was published by Bloomberg, 27th March 2025. Okay. I am so sorry, guys. This is not good. South Africa, with the help of the World Bank, has a $3 billion, that is 54.6 billion rand, plan to reverse the decline in services and infrastructure in eight of its biggest cities. What was the point of electing officials into councils when now we find ourselves in this situation? That's the first question we need to ask ourselves. And what will change if we return them to council and then they begin to utilize this 54 billion rand? It's 55 billion. Let's round it up to the nearest number. 55 billion rand. Do you see how the tenderpreneurs are like this? Oh, yes. Bring it on. And do you think that the people that are going to get these tenders are going to be just an ordinary South African? No. These are politicians who are going to put their friends when they apply for the procurement of whatever responsibility they are going to be given in some billions of rands, and then they get kickbacks because they accepted them and gave them the tender. Hmm. No ordinary South African. Let's continue with the article. It will use a $1 billion, that is 18.2 billion rand loan from the World Bank, coupled with $2 billion, that is 36.4 billion rand of government money, to finance grants for cities including Johannesburg, Durban, and Cape Town that meet targets in providing water, sanitation, electricity, and solid waste processing. I'm sorry, guys. I think I'm just upset. Oh, I'm sorry. Solid waste processing under a new government program. You see, these government and programs, committees, forums, and some kind, they love this stuff, as if by putting a group of people who are experts in fixing things is going to help, when already we're having politicians probably who will go up to them, threaten them that, listen, you are not going to oversee anything. You did not see me taking 100 million rand out of this 55 billion rand and putting it into my account. You are going to look the other way because out of that 100 million rand, I am going to give you X amount of money. South Africa has a corrupt culture, unfortunately. And the people that are going to be responsible for this, they don't care about the revival of the city. And even if they did do something, it's going to be something that's 2 years down the line, like the potholes they're always fixing. They are going to start showing up. The cracks in the city will start showing up. And you have to ask yourself what happened there then to the 54 billion rand. Hmm? South Africa. Let's continue. The World Bank said in response to a query that the initiative consists of a new targeted performance based fiscal transfer to the municipalities. It will support reforms in the trading services centers, cities charge residents for. It added, are they even capable? Because there are citizens of Johannesburg that consistently get bills that don't make sense. So, meaning somebody that is sitting in some finance office probably has no degree because he or she slept with somebody to get the job. And now, when it comes to billing the residents, they just write a figure. It's a figure, anyways, they'll pay it themselves. And it makes no sense. It doesn't math. Water bill, rates bill, levies. That sounds familiar? Most of you guys, that's what you are struggling with right now. Your bill's not making sense at all because the people that they hire are incapable, probably uneducated in that particular field. And now you want to give them 55 billion rand? It's a joke. The government is setting up the Metro Services Trading Program as it faces increasing pressure from citizens to improve services amid recurrent breakdowns of urban power transmission grids, regular water outages, and lax collection of refuse. In election last year, the African National Congress lost its outright majority good for the first time since the advent of democracy in 1994, partly because of anger over poor service delivery. Now, what we need to do in the local government elections 2026, remove them completely. If you want this 55 billion rand to work, they've got to go. They can't come back to council houses. And they cannot come back to parliament either in 2029. I'm just saying, like I said, the power is in your hand so that we do see the revival of our city indeed. ANC gotta go. ANC gotta go. South Africa's metros are facing a crisis in the provision of basic services marked by declining safety, reliability, and accessibility, the World Bank said in documents about the program. Urgent action is needed to reverse the collapse of urban services. The program focuses on cities where 22 million people, or more than a third of the country's population, live across an area of almost 30,000 square meters. That's almost 20 times the size of London. Immigration problem. Are you telling me that the city of Joburg is holding so many people and then the infrastructure is not going to collapse simply because we have incapable people that are supposed to be protecting national security of this country as well as population control so that the little resources we have does reach the people and you want to give them 55 billion rand. Wow. While South Africa's government currently allocates money to municipalities for infrastructure investments, there is no incentive based on results. Why? So now we want to bribe them so they can do their job. So you are asking that we praise a fish for swimming? That doesn't make sense. Speaking of municipalities and metros that do not perform, listen, if you want this money, I know, even the people that are going to take over, just they are just incapable as those councillors and mayors and speakers and whoever else that are responsible for our cities. For with this 55 billion rand, do not give it to them. And let this be the responsibility of the government by putting all of these 8 cities under administration, national administration, not provincial, so that the national will have to hunt down, even if it means it goes to Australia, to bring back the Afrikaners that used to run shit in this country in terms of infrastructure and all the stuff that worked. Bring them back. Let them be the ones that lead this 55 billion rand in reviving our 8 cities that this $1 billion that we are going to be getting from the World Bank to actually be implemented. Even if it means we do that, let's do that. Let's do that. Let's cast asunder all these. I saw somebody as well say, oh, you need to be in business for you to understand BEE. And how is it working? It's only working for you. That is why it's easy for you to say what you are saying to me about BEE. But the majority, or at least the idea of it, has not trickled down to the ordinary people. It trickled to you because you are politically connected. And you want to cut me down to size by saying, because you're not in business, you will not understand BEE. No, I don't understand BEE, and it needs to go. I stand on that. I don't care what you have to say. You're speaking in a place of privilege as well as political protection. That's how you got into business. So let's continue. Wow. The program will involve a combination of grant reforms together with the provision of conditional financial incentives that encourage, I'm sorry, I apologize. So city managers are going to have to be encouraged to do their job, whatever. Okay, can I start this again? It's I'm sorry. The program will involve a combination of the grant reforms together with the provision of conditional financial incentives that encourage municipalities to aggressively target the challenges affecting service delivery, the World Bank said. The World Bank, I'm sure they're just answering back. They were like, okay, good for us. We're going to get interest out of this $1 billion. If things go south, we still need our $1 billion plus the interest. Otherwise, we're coming to take over. I wonder which city would they take over. The National Treasury didn't respond to a request for comments. In its budget statement earlier this month, the Treasury mentioned plans for incentive-based program without giving detail of requirements, targets, or funding. Because if they did, then that means their friends who are already doing this, including the capable hands that can deliver with this 55 billion rand. If we're going to say out straight, that means our comrades are not going to eat through kickbacks. It's crazy. The money provided would be in addition to about $6 billion, 109.2 billion rand sourced from revenue collected by the metropolitan areas and they borrowing making for a $9 billion or 163.8 billion rand government program, the World Bank said. Where would the cities be getting this money from? The focus will be on improving service, reducing water and electricity losses, and collecting more revenue. From what? There's at least R1 trillion that is not collected by SARS in the city of Johannesburg because of illegal businesses. You have people, young people, flying from their countries in Bangladesh, Pakistan, Somalia, Ethiopia, coming to South Africa. And when they get here, they're like, oh, we are here as asylum seekers. What is the Geneva Convention clause on asylum seeking and refugee? Does it not say the principle of first safe country first? How is South Africa a safe country first when it's right there at the tip of Africa and you have to fly for hours to get to us? And then you come here and you say you're seeking asylum or you want to be a refugee. And then you start businesses that you do not even bank the money in any of our banks. You're not paying taxes, and all this money goes under your mattress. And then some of these monies they go and fund terrorism activities back in their countries. Yet we're supposed to have leaders that are responsible in collecting revenue from every business. And secondly, you cannot open a business of foreign national in South Africa if you do not have 5 million rand investment into our economy. That is our immigration law. Hmm? Wow. Other municipalities that fall under the program include the cities or metropolitan areas of Bloemfontein, Pretoria, East London, Gqeberha, and Ekurhuleni. That is what this whole thing is saying, and I cannot for the life of me take it seriously. And if it does happen, I think we all have to be very, very worried. Very worried. But we do not have to worry because we have an opportunity in 2026 not to bring these people back into council houses. They've let the cities rot while they're sitting there on each other's throats, changing each other like their underwears. When have we had a stable municipality in these coalitions? We have not. So the solution is clear. We need to find capable hands, capable minds with visions in our communities that we are going to send there so that when this 55 billion rand is brought, they will know what to do. They will know how to revive the cities, even if it means they go get inspiration elsewhere. But as long as there is going to be change and delivery and also the eradication of lack, like such shortages of electricity, water, and sanitation. This needs people that are visionaries, not only visionaries, people that are capable. I don't care what they have and I don't care what race they are, as long as they are capable and they can take these cities and bring them back to their glory self. I would love to return to the city of Johannesburg, walk during the course of the night, safe, knowing that there are CCTV cameras absolutely everywhere. Everywhere. And there are police vans that are roaming around like back in the day. I would love that. But how do you put people that did not grow up in the city? They don't know how it looked like before. Native Joburgers, native Twanes, native Durbanites, native Quebecans, native East Londoners, native Ekurhuleners, whatever it is that they're called, are the ones that's supposed to go there because they remember their cities, they used to look like and how they used to function. Entrepreneurs, this is your responsibility, the collapse of our cities. So, all I am saying as a solution, put all these municipalities and metros under national administration and go get people who are capable. Like I said, I don't care where you go to, and let them lead this revival of our cities because they've got the experience. They've got the vision. And some of them, if you bring them from Australia, England, USA, New Zealand, at least they would have some kind of an idea, a certain portion of Joburg, how it needs to look like. Where are parks in Johannesburg? Forget Zoo Lake. I'm talking parks where people can relax after doing shopping or going shop or whatever the case might be, just to relax and have a nice sweet spot for dates. You know, guys, we need that. We need to put these municipalities under administration and just make sure that this money goes into these programs that you are talking about and in-source everything so that the majority of the citizens of these cities they get employment. Because if you're going to put a tender on this, the tenderpreneurs are going to hire the people they sleep with who have absolutely no idea. In fact, they're not even have an idea. They're not going to do anything because you're sleeping with them. So to them, they're only waiting for the end of the month to earn a salary or wages, and nothing happens. Suppliers, we need to keep an eye on that so that they do not buy cheap materials that are going to crumble few months down the line. So in-source everything and let the government be the one that employs the labor that is going to help in reviving the cities, and as well find a program where you can incorporate these people permanently. Not entrepreneurs, not entrepreneurs. We've seen how entrepreneurs have destroyed this country. Have you seen the RDP houses? They are falling apart. Look at the four-room houses that the apartheid government built for us, still standing since the 1930s or something like that. We grew up in those homes. The matchbox that this government built falling apart. And I'm not exaggerating this because I've seen it too many times. So you want to take all that money and put it in the hands of people that only interested in that money, not the city? No. Put every municipality and metro that you have targeted under administration and in source so that people in the city are employed. All right, that's just my thoughts. Let me go back to try and figure out a solution for my life right now because it is sad. It is quite sad, I don't wanna lie. But thank you guys so much for listening. And thank you so much for the super thanks. They kind of like help as well in my situation. Thank you so much for your kindness. May you please be abundantly blessed, you and your generations, for your kindness. And yeah, please don't leave this video without liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. And we'll see each other in my next video. Goodbye.